Live TV is unpredictable. One moment, everything is running smoothly.
Happy belated birthday. When was your birthday?
It was October 4th.
October 4th. You turned 30.
I did.
And the next, a guest completely wrecks the host in front of millions.
Your foot's starting to jump a little bit. You better get to your next question.
From brutal call-outs to full-on walkouts, these moments are the stuff of talk show nightmares. But what happens when the guest isn't just awkward, but downright savage?
What happens when you take it out?
Yeah.
Both questions?
Oh, come on, come on. What am I speaking Chinese here? Now stop it.
Today, we're diving into the most cringe-worthy, jaw-dropping times talk show hosts got a taste of their own medicine. Live, unfiltered, and impossible to forget.
I'm only here because there isn't a Knicks game. Don't get excited.
Oh, come on. Let's go kiss the guy in the audience. Why don't you go kiss the guy in the
Why are you
audience?
so obsessed with my sex life?
David Letterman was no stranger to awkward interviews, but when Madonna graced The Late Show in 1994, things quickly spiraled into TV chaos. What should have been a fun, lighthearted chat turned into one of the most unfiltered, unpredictable, and downright cringe-worthy moments in late-night history. It all started with Madonna being, well, Madonna.
You can't get through a show without talking about me or thinking about me.
She strutted onto the stage with an attitude that made it clear she was there to stir things up. Within seconds, she was throwing jabs at Letterman, accusing him of being obsessed with her. He laughed it off, but she didn't stop. Then, she dropped a bombshell, using language that sent the network censors into overdrive.
Yes.
What brings you?
Incidentally, you are a sick.
In fact, she managed to say a certain four-letter word over a dozen times, breaking records for the most bleeps in a single segment. Letterman, usually the king of sarcasm, was visibly flustered. He tried steering the conversation toward her music and career, but Madonna wasn't having it. Instead, she flipped the script, grilling him on his personal life and making suggestive comments that left the audience in stitches and Letterman shifting in his chair. To make things even more uncomfortable, she refused to leave the stage, dragging the interview into painfully awkward territory.
All right, I tell you what let's do. Let's do a commercial. You want to do a commercial?
No.
Okay, we'll do a commercial
I don't think
and then...
we should ever cut to a commercial.
What made it even stranger was the unpredictable mix of tension and playfulness. One moment, Madonna was flirting with Letterman. The next, she was outright challenging him. The audience wasn't sure whether to laugh or hide behind their hands.
Oh, man. Damn thing seems to be stuck.
Even for a host as seasoned as Letterman, this was a rare moment of defeat. The fallout from the interview was immediate. Headlines exploded with speculation. Was it a publicity stunt? A genuine feud? Just Madonna being Madonna? No one knew for sure, but one thing was certain. Late-night television had never seen anything quite like it. And with that, we move on to another classic talk show train wreck.
Well, that's the big difference between being canceled and being number one.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Larry King had interviewed just about everyone. From presidents to pop stars, he had a reputation for asking the big questions. Sometimes too big, sometimes too small, and occasionally just plain unnecessary. That last one is exactly what landed him in hot water with Jerry Seinfeld in 2007. Seinfeld was there to promote one of his projects, but things took a turn when King, in his usual deadpan style, asked whether Seinfeld had been canceled or if Jerry had ended it himself.
180 episodes.
You gave it up, right?
I did. So.
They didn't cancel you. You canceled them.
He stared at King in disbelief, his face frozen in a mix of horror and amusement. He was a man who had built a television empire, a man whose show had dominated ratings, and yet here was Larry King asking him if he had been canceled. In true Seinfeld fashion, he launched into a sarcastic rant.
Yeah, no, I went off the air. I was the number one show on television, Larry.
You were.
Do you know who I am?
Jewish guy, Brooklyn.
Yes.
Okay.
Pretending to explain just how massive Seinfeld had been. King, to his credit, tried to recover, but the damage was done.
Well, that's the big difference between being canceled and being number one.
Okay, I'm sorry. We'll be right back.
Jeez.
The exchange became an instant classic, endlessly replayed as a masterclass in how to embarrass a host on live television. Seinfeld, always quick-witted, made sure the moment felt like comedy rather than cruelty, but the sheer awkwardness was impossible to ignore. The best part? This wasn't some rookie interviewer making a blunder, it was Larry King. Of course, this wasn't the first time a guest had turned the tables on a host. Sometimes, it wasn't even about one awkward question. It was about an entire personality clash. Hugh Grant had built his career on playing charming, slightly bumbling Englishmen in romantic comedies. But when he appeared on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart in 2009, he was anything but charming.
Well, yes, it's, you know, I'm an eternal pessimist. I always assume everything's going to flop horribly, but,
That was in no way a portent of anything that's going to happen.
Right from the start, Grant radiated an air of irritation, as if he had been forced to be there against his will. He sighed, he rolled his eyes, and he seemed generally unimpressed with everything happening around him. Stewart, known for his laid-back but sharp hosting style, tried to keep things moving, but Grant wasn't having it.
But I did catch her dribbling one day.
Excuse me? Is that some sort of English term for something?
No, she was, you know, she was drinking tea one day, and to my delight, I saw it all trickling down her chin here.
Really?
So I suppose she...
You? I can do that.
At one point, Grant even complained about the promotional clip being played for his film, claiming it was terrible.
What do you mean, a clip?
A clip from your movie? It's an American term
yes.
meaning a segment.
Yes, play it. Oh,
You know what that means?
Don't do all that
It's
business.
clip time!
Stewart didn't lash out in the moment, but later in a behind-the-scenes interview, he revealed just how unpleasant Grant had been. He described him as rude to the staff, dismissive of the process, and frankly, a nightmare to work with. And then came the final blow. Stewart made it very clear that Hugh Grant would never be invited back. But the public opinion still seems to be against Stewart.
And the David Letterman line. Now...
But I haven't finished my sentence.
Oh, please.
But it has got
I'll dribble some more.
But it has got a fantastic buzz about it, all over the country, so it should be good.
Look at you mastering English terminology. A fantastic buzz about it.
A buzz was very American.
That is very American.
Many people think it was embarrassing for him to invite someone to his show and make them feel weird. So far, we've seen sarcasm, cringeworthy moments, and full-on guest meltdowns. But what happens when a guest doesn't just embarrass the host, they call them out on their own show? Daytime television was supposed to be safe. Light banter, cheerful energy, and celebrity guests promoting their latest projects. What could possibly go wrong? Well, if you were Ellen DeGeneres in 2019, a lot. It all started with what should have been an innocent question. Ellen, known for her playful teasing, casually asked Dakota Johnson,
When was your birthday?
It was October 4th.
October 4th. You turned 30.
I did.
Now, in most cases, a celebrity guest would have laughed, played along, and moved on. But Dakota? She wasn't about to let Ellen rewrite history.
And how was the party? I wasn't invited.
Actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen. You were invited.
With the confidence of someone who had been waiting for this moment, Dakota looked Ellen straight in the eye and dropped a truth bomb.
Last time I was on the show, last year, you gave me a bunch of about not inviting you, but I didn't even know you wanted to be invited.
Well, who doesn't want to be invited to a party?
Well, I didn't even know you liked me.
Of course I like you. You knew I liked you.
The studio audience went silent for half a second before breaking into nervous laughter. Ellen, caught completely off guard, scrambled to recover, mumbling something about how she must have been out of town. But Dakota wasn't done yet. She doubled down, insisting that the invite had been sent and that Ellen's own team could confirm it.
Yeah.
But I did invite you and you didn't come, so.
This time you invited me?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
How do you know? I don't think so.
Ask everybody. Ask Jonathan, your producer. Who said you were?
I was
he's
invited?
right there.
Why didn't I go?
I don't know.
Was it, oh yeah, I had that.
This wasn't just awkward, it was a full-blown oh no she didn't moment. Ellen, once the queen of daytime TV, was visibly rattled. For years she had built her brand on being the friendly, lovable host. But now, the cracks were starting to show. The clip went viral almost instantly. Fans dissected every second, with many pointing out how rare it was to see a guest stand their ground against Ellen. This was a turning point. Not just for Dakota Johnson's status as an unshakable interviewee, but for Ellen's public image. But if Ellen thought she had a bad day, she should try being Robert Downey Jr. during his infamous Channel 4 News interview. When he agreed to an interview with Channel 4 News, he probably expected a few generic questions about his latest movie. What he didn't expect was a deep dive into his troubled past. The host, Krishnan Guru Murthy, started off with standard promotional questions, but things quickly took a turn.
That's the nice thing, is you can have opinions and they kind of change and flow.
Yeah, well, that's life and that's growing older, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you say we're promoting an interview, promoting the movie. I mean, obviously you're doing a promotional round of interviews, and that's why we're talking about the movie, but we also would like to talk a little bit about you, and I don't know how comfortable you are, you know, talking about yourself at the moment.
You have as much time as anyone else will.
Downey at first tried to keep things light. He smiled, gave short answers, and tried to steer the conversation back to safer territory. But the interviewer wasn't letting up. With each question, Downey's expression shifted from amused to confused to, finally, outright annoyed.
Your foot's starting to jump a little bit. You better get to your next question.
Then came the moment that would cement this interview in the Hall of Talk Show Disasters. Downey, visibly frustrated, sighed, looked off camera, and then stood up, leaving the host sitting there in awkward silence. Of course, walking out was one way to handle a bad interview. But what if, instead of storming off, a guest completely flipped the script, hijacking the entire show and making the hosts look like amateurs? Some talk show guests fumbled their way into awkward moments. Others got ambushed and struggled to recover. But then there was Russell Brand, a man who didn't just survive awkward interviews, he thrived in them. And when he appeared on Morning Joe in 2013, he didn't just embarrass the hosts, he completely dismantled them. The trouble started before Brand even opened his mouth. From the moment he sat down, the hosts treated him like a novelty act rather than a guest.
It's like your desk is a puzzle.
It is. I'm sorry about that.
What is the solution?
They talked about him instead of to him, as if he weren't sitting right there. It was the kind of condescending tone you might use with a zoo animal. Amusing, a little wild, but not to be taken seriously.
I think it's not listening to him, it's experience. It's just sort of taking it all in.
You are talking about me as if I'm not here and as if I'm an extraterrestrial. You know, I'm from a country that's
kind of
near
shop
to you.
window dummy. We're just sort of admiring the whole, you know, it's the whole thing.
Big mistake. Brand, always razor sharp, let it slide at first. He played along, flashing his usual charm. But as the hosts continued to speak about him like he was some kind of foreign entity instead of a human being, he decided to flip the interview on its head.
You shouldn't say he when a person is present. You should refer to the person by their name. That's basic good manners.
That is where Willie is heading.
Who is Willie?
I don't know. Okay, Russell Brand.
Is this what you all do for a living?
Yes!
With the precision of a stand-up comedian and the delivery of a seasoned debater, he hijacked the segment.
We're going to be talking about the situation with Edward Snowden. This whistleblower, is it good, what he's done for America, or are our secrets being jeopardized by his intentions? We're going to be talking about that. Also, Bradley Manning. Is Bradley Manning an American hero, or is he compromising the safety of American troops? We care about your views here on Morning Joe. We'll be talking about those later. Here with me are Brian and Kat. Brian, nice time. What do you think about Edward Snowden? What do you think about the situation with Snowden?
First, he called out the hosts for their shallow, dismissive questions. Then, he effortlessly exposed their lack of preparation, pointing out that they were reading from cue cards instead of engaging in a real conversation. But the real knockout punch came when he turned the tables entirely, teaching them how to do their own jobs.
None of you, this is a hotbed of neurosis and psychosis.
Yes.
Oh my word, I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah.
But Joe's not here, so there are no messiahs.
That's true. Although we actually bring more mental illness to the table than we admit, at least on this side here, for sure.
On this side, too.
So tell me about the tour.
He showed them how to properly introduce a guest, called attention to their nervous energy, and even schooled them on their own broadcasting style. By the time it was over, the Morning Joe team looked like deer caught in headlights. Brand had transformed from guest to host.
There are challenges in all of those different disciplines. The thing I enjoy most is stand-up comedy because you're direct with your audience. You can't be misinterpreted, people can't get confused.
Leaving the actual hosts scrambling to regain control of their own show.
Okay, but I'm here
Professional.
Okay, well, let me help you. I'm here to promote a tour called Messiah Complex. It's here for the people of America. I want the people of America to come and see me do stand-up. Go to russellbrand.tv where you can purchase tickets to see me.
Spoiler alert, they never did.
People of America, we're gonna be okay. Everything's all right. These are your trusted anchors.
The clip went viral, not just because of how brilliantly Brand handled the situation, but because it exposed something deeper.
Stop saying he. I'm present. Russell. What's wrong with your manners?
You're good.
Be polite.
But if you thought that was bad, wait until you hear about the time Joan Rivers walked out of a CNN interview because the host dared to criticize her humor. Joan Rivers was a comedy legend. She had spent decades breaking barriers, telling jokes that no one else dared to tell, and building a career on saying the unsayable. So, if you were going to interview her, you had to know what you were getting into. Unfortunately, CNN's Frederica Whitfield did not.
Even with your fashion critiquing, while it's very mean in some ways, people can't wait to hear what you have to say. Really? It's not mean?
You can. It's not mean. I tell the truth. I'm sure I say the same things that all your viewers say to their friends sitting next to them on the couch. You know, we're one of the few shows that says that's an ugly dress.
In 2014, Rivers appeared on CNN Newsroom to promote her book. Now, most authors would expect to discuss their writing process, inspiration, and maybe a funny anecdote or two. Instead, Whitfield decided to go straight for the controversy, questioning Rivers about whether her comedy was too mean-spirited. To say this did not sit well with Rivers would be an understatement. At first, she responded with humor, throwing out a few quips in her signature style. But as Whitfield kept pressing, Rivers' patience began to evaporate. The host's tone was mild, but the implication was clear. Wasn't Joan too harsh? Didn't she ever feel bad about her jokes? Shouldn't she soften up a little? Joan Rivers had survived decades in the cutthroat world of comedy, built a career on saying exactly what she wanted, and outlasted generations of critics. She was not about to sit there and let a daytime news anchor tell her how to do her job. And so, in true Joan Rivers fashion, she shut it down.
You know, this whole interview is becoming a defensive interview.
No!
Are you wearing leather shoes?
Yeah,
shut up.
I'm talking.
You know what I mean? I don't want to hear. You're wearing fur. You're wearing leather shoes.
I'm not an activist, but I'm saying.
You're eating chicken.
Yeah.
You're eating meat. I don't want to hear this nonsense. Come to me with a paper belt, and I'll talk to you.
She decided she'd had enough. With zero hesitation, she ripped off her microphone, declared the interview over, and walked out.
I make people laugh for 50 years. I am put on earth to make people laugh. My book is funny. I wear fur that was killed 15 years ago. I work for animal rights. Stop it with, and you do this, and you're mean, and you're that. You are not the one to interview a person who does humor. Sorry.
Are we serious?
This wasn't just a guest getting flustered or uncomfortable. This was Joan Rivers making an exit. She had been in the game too long to sit through a conversation that was, in her eyes, completely missing the point. And just like that, she left Whitfield sitting there, stunned, realizing she had just lost control of her own segment.
Oh boy, yeah, she was serious. And I thought she was joking the whole time. But in the end, we wondered, was this a stunt?
Of course, in classic Rivers style, she didn't just leave. She made sure it was a moment. The interview clip spread like wildfire. Some people applauded Rivers for standing her ground. Others thought she overreacted. But one thing was undeniable. Joan Rivers did not play by anyone's rules. And there you have it. Gloriously awkward, toe-curling moments when talk show guests completely flipped the script. From sarcastic takedowns to full-on walkouts, these interviews proved that anything can happen on live TV. But now we want to hear from you. Which moment made you cringe the most? Or did we miss an even better one? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more wild stories like this one.